everyone, I am Schoolgirl Minion Michelle. I apologize that these videos are going to be uploaded late. The Minion conference went longer than expected, so I will be sure to be caught up with Tuesday's video today. So all the videos that I've had the unfortunate time of not being able to do on time will be uploaded today. Because I'm the minion that's in charge of uploading all these videos, so in case you were wondering. So without further ado, let me discuss the underrated film that I wanted to discuss for this underrated film Saturday. That is sort of Halloween centered or focuses around the themes or concepts of Halloween, and that is Paranorman. Now, Paranorman is a stop-motion animated film, primarily for children, although I'm surprised that this film managed to get away with more adult humor, but I think that's why we have PG ratings. But either way, that's kind of that's kind of not saying much, because ultimately it's still for children primarily as its target audience. But I think it has a lot of adult themes and concepts that I think can appeal to both. So it definitely works out in that sense of not just being a kids film, but a film in general. So what is this story in particular about? Well, it centers around a boy named Norman who can see the dead. This ultimately gets him into the plot that is centered around this particular curse that a witch put on the town that he lives in years and years ago. So it's really centered around that. And the plot mainly focuses on Norman trying to find a way to stop this curse in particular. So what makes this film, I think, really good is not only its good characters and story, but it has some very interesting themes that I think not a lot of films, in particular children's films, focus on, and that is the concept of being scared. Usually when we associate things with being scary, we usually think of, the slasher films or of traditional horror films. But with this kind of theme, it approaches the concept of being scared and its impacts on other people, and how it sort of plays a role into how we shape ourselves. And I think this film really tackles this theme very well, and it really works well with the plot that it ultimately tries to set up with Norman. And I think that's why the film in particular stands out for that reason. And it's nice to see that a kids film does this, because I think there is a certain element of being scared that I think a lot of children can associate with. Now, I think doing this film in stop motion animation actually really works. Some might say that the designs are not as as maybe pleasing to look at, but I think that's not really the point of the film. The point of the film is just kind of to be very sort of down to earth, and while at the same time giving this sense of horror and the supernatural, which you will see throughout the film. So there's not only a witch, there's zombies and spirits and such. So you will see this throughout as the film sort of unfolds. But I think there are a couple of reasons, sort of similar to why other films, in particular animated films, sort of get put on the underrated category. I think this film became underrated because, again, it's stop motion, and stop motion animation is not as common as CGI now, and I don't think it's as a widely used format. And that probably was something that deterred audiences because it was something unfamiliar. and they probably thought, oh, the quality won't be as good. And I think that's sort of the assumptions that people had when it came to this film in particular. But I think this film is growing and following, and I think a lot of people are telling others to see the film. But I think it's still, when it initially came out, I don't think it got a lot of exposure. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that it chose to do the stop motion format as opposed to CGI, because usually children are familiar with that format and gravitate towards that format. So we haven't, and again, we haven't really seen a lot of stop motion animated films, and when we do see them, they don't get as popular or as well recognized. So I think this is sort of a reasoning as to why audiences in particular didn't look into this film all that much. And it's also not under a big name studio. Again, it's not a product of Disney or DreamWorks. It's a lot smaller name. So if you have a lot of smaller name and also in a different format than what we're used to seeing, I think that's another thing that might have deterred audiences, because people might have thought, oh, well, this is just another I'm guessing people thought it was probably like a sort of a gimmick, a cheap gimmick, um, as opposed to actually giving the film a chance, which I think is a bummer, because I think this film has a lot to offer, not just to children, but to audiences in general. And yeah, I really don't want to give anything else away, because really the way the plot unfolds itself with the curse that Norman has to go through um, and try to stop is really what's leading into spoiler territory, so I don't really want to go there. But if you enjoy these kinds of films, if you like films that are centered around children and, you know, that revolve around a child going on some kind of journey or achieving a goal, then that's something that will appeal to you within this film. It's really at the heart and center of it, because you really do see how Norman tries to ultimately solve the problem that is put in front of him, even when others probably won't listen to him. And so therefore I think he's a fairly likable character. Is he all that interesting? I wouldn't say so. I think the side characters have a little bit more personality to them, but I think that's sort of expected for a film like this, and so that we can insert ourselves as the main character, Norman. Um, Although the side characters do play a role, they're really not the focus, and they really, although they do help at times, from with Norman getting from one plot point to the next, it's really Norman who's at the forefront and who takes up the most screen time. So that's, I think, something that's worthy to note of, that the side characters, although they do have sort of development, they're really not the focus. They're just kind of there to lead Norman to where he is, and then ultimately sort of Norman, you know, sort of coming back to them, and you know, after he's completed his mission, and sort of reclaiming the bond that he has with the other side characters. And you will see this as the film sort of unfolds. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say about this film without giving too much away. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I hope you all have a pleasant month of Halloween. The next minion will do the Tuesday's video, and then all of the videos will be posted and updated for you, and then we should be good and heading off right into the last videos for this month of Halloween. I hope you all have a pleasant month leading up to this last week of Halloween. And yeah, you'll see the next minion in the next video. Take care, everyone.